Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann, and I show men and women how they can create healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm really excited because today I'm joined by Eugenia O'Liberty. Hi, Eugenia.
Hello, and thanks so much for inviting me to have this conversation with you.
It's great to see you. So, for those of you that don't yet know Eugenia, she works as a coach, a speaker, a healer, and a pleasure and orgasm educator. So, before we get into all of that, Eugenia, I know that right now you're living in Bali,
Yes.
which is absolutely wonderful. But tell us about where you come from and a little bit about your childhood and the kind of values that you learnt as you grew up with your family.
Sure. Well, thanks for asking, because people who connect with me right now, they have like this perception. It's like, oh, she's a coach, she lives in Bali. It's easy for her, it's like this kind of thing. However, I originally come from Latvia, from a very small town. And, like in small towns, there is a small town mentality. So I have been like going to school and being bullied at school quite a lot. And more than anything, it's like I had, my parents have been alcoholics. So like domestic violence and emotional and physical abuse have been like everyday reality for me when I was growing up. And that has encouraged me not to, spend a lot of time at home. I didn't feel like I belonged in my school environment, being like bullied at school, especially because I grew up quite early. Well, I had to grow up quite early. And I always have been very independent. My body developed very quickly, like by the age of 13, I already had like big breasts, and I had a lot of attention from boys in school. And of course, like other girls didn't like it. So they've been like spreading the rumors about me that I'm doing like very crazy things. And, it's like, it actually made me feel like I'm very isolated. So I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching, they can relate to not feeling like they belong, because a lot of people that I come in contact with, somewhere in life feel that way. But actually, it's bizarre and incredible at the same time that right now I help people with very thing that I have been bullied for.
I think that often happens. That often happens, doesn't it, when you're a coach? And that's so amazing that you've been through it so you can help people. But at the time, that's a huge amount of things to deal with. That's, how on earth did you get through that at the time, Eugenia?
Well, I actually didn't know any other way, to be honest. I felt like it was a normal thing, that maybe not everyone goes through that, but it was my everyday reality. So somehow I became like accustomed to abuse, that this is just like another thing that I had to deal with. I didn't think that it was like out of ordinary or something like that. But when I really started noticing that my problems really began when I got married when I was 20. And what happened then, somehow I realized that I've married a guy, a man, who is the spit image of my dad. Like with his behaviors, with his, like even his laughter was like spit copy of my dad's laughter. That was like quite, bizarre. So I've been married for a very short time, for 3 months, because already in that time the domestic abuse has started. So I've been, very lucky to escape after 3 months and get divorced like a year later. So that has been a blessing. But then I have started noticing that each and every relationship that I was attracting in my life was somewhat the same. It was like all based on alcohol. It was all based on physical violence, emotional abuse, and I was like, one time I remember what actually really rang the bell for me was when I spoke to my mother on the phone. At the time, I used to live in England and my family back in Latvia. So I was talking on the phone with my mother, and she was complaining to me about my dad. It's like, oh, he's this, he's that, you know. And what I said to her, I was like, well, mom, if you don't like it, you can leave. Nobody like holds you down there, you know. And when she was complaining, I understood that I have exactly the same complaints about my relationships, about my partner. And when I put the phone down, I just thought to myself, well, maybe it's time for me to take my own advice here. Because I don't know about you, but you know, it's like in the past, I was so quick to give advices, but I never would take my own advice. You know, we are so like, yeah, you should do this and that and that and that, but we never take our own advice. But that was the time when I actually stopped and thought, that's the time for me to take my own advice. And I did, you know, and I left, and my healing like journey has somewhat begun from there.
Wow. I mean, I can absolutely relate to you and what you're saying about attracting men who had behavior that was portrayed by your father. I absolutely experienced that. And there was a point when I didn't experience the abuse that you experienced, but there was a point when I realized there was some sort of connection, and then I went and did something about it. I went and did the Landmark Forum and started that healing process. So of course there might be people right now who are struggling with what you're talking about. Maybe they're going through that right now, or they've experienced it in the past. But I think that actually generally it can be a real struggle to be deeply intimate in relationship, can't it? So why do you think people struggle so much with that, apart from maybe it is based on the past? What do you think?
Well, based on what I know and what I have experienced in my own life and what I have learned, you know, we all want to be loved. We all seeking for love. We all want to be understood and valued. However, so many of us have no idea how to receive love. We like a lot of us know how to give love, but then receiving love, you know, can be so vulnerable, especially when you come from the background of the abuse and trauma. And when I say trauma, I don't mean that like, you know, a massive thing that, you know, like car crash or like, you know, like traumatic relationships or violence or something like that. Trauma can be something as small as, you know, somebody said something to you, and like especially when we kids, we are so taking the impressions so easily. We are so pure that we take everything so close to our heart, and it creates this like emotional response that we make decisions for ourselves. I'm never gonna experience this again. You know, this is dangerous. You know, I'm never gonna go there again. So it's not safe for me. So a lot of you know, situations where people actually struggling to be intimate or vulnerable or open their heart for love, it's based on the past trauma. Like, because you know, when you have a heartbreak, you know, you like in a loving relationship, and over the sudden, you know, either a person dies or leaves, you know, it breaks your heart, and you create this like massive like trauma in your heart. And very often what people do, they decide, never again I'm gonna allow myself to experience that. So we become very guarded, you know, oh, this is like too precious for me to like give it away. It's too precious. Even though we really want that, we don't allow people in because there is too much at stake. But people don't understand is like what is more at stake is like let somebody in and having the risk of breaking your heart, or being isolated and lonely till the rest of your life.
Yes. And you're not just talking about a partner breaking your heart. Are you talking about you know, that somebody in our life outside of a partnership relationship, someone may have died or left, and the grief of that experience closes our heart down, so it's not accessible to anybody.
I have worked with people, like right now, I have been working with people for past 5 years, and I could see that, I do this very strong process with people to eliminate limiting beliefs and like redesign the map, or the mind. And basically what happens, I have worked with people, like as kids, been watching some TV program and their favorite character died, and it had like such a strong impact on them that they create abundance, trauma of abandonment. And I have been working with people who, some of my clients have been able to go as far back as being a toddlers, could not even walk, but all they could remember that they've been scared of some person who was coming towards them, and they decided that they cannot have people too close to them because it's dangerous. Because like, let's be honest, when we making decisions as the kids, it's very different to making decisions as a grown up. But what happens when we have like this stored in our body, it's very, active, like you make the decisions from the place of child, because that inner child rules your life at the time, and you're not even aware of that. Like I've been in Landmark Forum also, and I love that. It actually have been a foundation for me, for my transformation, is where my healing has begun. And it's like you literally don't have any choice there. It's like you have this automatic responses, and you just like react on automation. So unless you discover what all those default responses are, you will continue making the same mistakes over and over again. You're gonna continue to feel unsafe, like especially, a lot of women feel very unsafe in their body, in their mind, in their like if they wear something too bright, if they show a little bit more skin, it's unsafe, to get too much attention and things like that, where actually when you change your relationship and you learn to feel safety no matter what, your experiences begin to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. And otherwise, if we don't address that and start to shift that, then we're just children walking around in a grown-up body, aren't we, really, that's just getting older, but inside it's all the same. So what kind of problems, Eugenia, do your clients come to you with, and how exactly do you help them?
Well, this is a great question. And, majority of my clients, they desire to be in love. Majority of my clients, they desire that juicy and passionate relationships. And, they are very often very successful people who have created a very good careers. I've been working with singers, I have been working with celebrity photographers, I have been working like with a very successful people on the paper, but it's like, but then what occurs is the question, what is it all for if I have no one to share this with? And, usually the people, and like also people like healers and doctors who are very smart, but they understand that if up until now, like usually the age range that I work with people is 21 to about 65. That's the age range that I have worked with so far. But majority of my clients, they're in their 40s plus. So what happens is like, if they realize, if I haven't figured this out by myself up until now, and I keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again, clearly, I don't want to waste any more time. I just want this, resolved and done. So yeah, so majority of my clients want to create a loving relationship. They want to start dating, they want to feel secure, they want to feel loved. And this is what I'm helping them with: overcoming breakup, creating long-lasting, positive relationship with self and relationship with others that rock their world. Because hey, who doesn't want that?
It's so, so important that the relationship we have with ourselves is a nourishing one, isn't it? So when it comes to habits, Eugenia, what habits have you adopted that really, really serve you?
This is a fantastic question. And one and the main habit for me is honesty. Honesty with myself. Because sometimes, my habits was like, oh, that's his fault. Oh, that's her fault. Yeah, I've got nothing to do with this. Like, I would refuse take responsibility in the past for my actions and reactions. And, honesty with myself actually allowed me to look, where is my part in here? Every time when I'm in communication with someone, I'm completely aware what is my part here, and it's like, whether that's a conflict, especially when there is a conflict, I'm looking at how have I been during that process? What could I do differently? So that is a massive, massive part. And another thing is commitment. I had a real challenge with commitment. I remember that I was scared of commitment. It was actually for me a thing that was like, commitment gonna take my freedom away. I was scared of that. And as soon as I realized that commitment and discipline gives me freedom, that has changed my life.
Wow.
And another like major habit is honoring my word. Honoring my word. So when I of course I'm not 100% on it. It's like everyday practice, everyday practice. And sometimes I forget, and sometimes I miss, and sometimes things happen and life gets in the way. But this is again, how can I restore that, trust with myself about honoring my word, and then being honest with myself about that.
Fabulous. So, so powerful. One last question.
Mm-hmm.
When you're no longer on this planet, how would you like to be remembered?
I would love to be remembered that I was super fun. Yeah, I love having fun. I love being playful. I love to have a good time. In fact, I really believe that I need to be paid for having a good time and show people how to have a good time.
Oh my goodness, fun is so underrated, isn't it, Eugenia? I'm totally with you all the way on that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And also, it's like, while having fun, also, I would love to believe that I have helped the humanity to create, their dreams into reality, because I'm super, super passionate about manifestations and creating the life you really love and feel passionate and excited about. Like, we live only once, and giving people that perspective is like, hey, what is better for you to like sit there and have a fear that, oh, your heart may be broken. And it's like, so what, are you not even going to try to live a better life because like imaginary fear that isn't even true right now? Or you're gonna go out there and it's like, well, you know what, I'm gonna have a no, because understand that the rejection is only a sensation in your body. It's like, and the story what we attach to it is a different thing. And when people understand that, they're like, okay, taking more risks, okay, living like more interesting life. And I would love to be remembered for that, for sure.
Wonderful. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. All there is for me to say is, Eugenia O'Liberty, thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much for being here and inviting me to join you in this conversation. And it's been absolutely fantastic talking about this with you.